heard this simple Buddhist story many years ago. It's a story attributed to Chuang-Tzu, a Chinese philosopher who lived 2500 years ago. Now, the Chinese philosopher wrote about a man traveling across a river in his boat when he noticed another boat quickly coming straight for him. He tried to row furiously to get out of his way, but it just didn't seem to help. He shouted, "Change directions, you're going to hit me." The boat came straight towards him anyway. It hit his boat with a violent thud. The young man cried out, "You idiot! How you could manage to hit my boat in the middle of such a wide river?" Now, as he glared into the boat seeking out that individual responsible for the accident, he realized there was no one. He had been screaming at an empty boat that had broken free from its moorings and floating downstream with the current. We all believe that our course is right and the true one, and that our path is sound. We get frustrated when others do not adjust or align their course to suit our needs. Friends, this parable is an adaptation from the book titled The Way of the Chuang-Tzu by Thomas Merton. We tend to behave in one way when we believe that there is another person who has caused us that discomfort or pain. We get angry, we act out, we assign fault and play the victim. We behave more calmly when we know that what is coming towards us is an empty boat. With no available scapegoat, we don't get upset. We make peace with the fact that our misfortune was the result of fate or bad luck, and we do our best to rectify the situation. If we start treating all boats as empty, we will have no other choice but to, one, accept what is, and two, change what we can change. It is up to us to choose how we react to the empty boats in our lives. We can either yell and scream at empty boats and endure the collision, or choose to get out of the way the best way we can, accepting what happens and do our best to continue on our way along the river. Empty boats surround us every day. The driver who cuts us off in traffic in the morning, the harsh comment from the boss or a family member, the impatient and rude treatment from a service provider, statements like "he pissed me off" or "she made me so angry" don't hold water anymore. No one can make us do anything because we get to choose our response. This doesn't mean we are oblivious to the injustice or passive about it. We can stand up for ourselves, but we can do so without reacting out of anger or hatred, because this creates more anger and hatred as well as stress and suffering for both ourselves and others. When you look carefully, you will see that empty boats are everywhere, and that responding with an empty boat frame of mind is a worthwhile practice for living peacefully. Viktor Frankl, the Austrian neurologist, psychiatrist, writer and Holocaust survivor, said, "Between stimulus and response there is a space, and in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. The key to producing outcomes is not the events or circumstances that people encounter, but how they choose to respond. Performance rises or falls on behavior. Winning behavior is intentional, on purpose, and it's skillful. It's discipline driven, but it's easier to be impulsive, on autopilot, and resistant. This is what is known as default driven. The simple truth is that disciplined action is the foundation for success in life and at work. E plus R is equal to O is the toolbox that equips people to choose discipline over default. Jack Canfield sums this up really simply in his book, The Success Principle. Event E plus R, which is your response, equals the O, which is outcome. Many people think that things happen to them. Their results are what they are because of the things that happen to them. Yes, it is true, events do just happen, but it is how you choose to respond to those events that will determine the results you get. Whatever it is, you have no control over that event, but you do have complete control over how you respond, whether it feels like it or not at that time. Friends, just as an empty boat that rams into us isn't targeting us, so too people who act unkindly are driven along by the unconscious force of ego-driven existence. Until we realize this, we will remain prisoners of reacting to actions by others instead of allowing the currents of life and love to flow freely through us. We all have a choice. Do we want to spend the rest of our lives reacting to perceived insults coming from empty boards? Or do we want to let the peace and love of the present moment be our guiding light?